Hey YouTube, I'm coming at you today with episode 3 of Not So Perfect. Don't mind the terrible lighting. I'm actually in my living room this time. But today is just kind of about more like health related. So for those of you that don't know, I have what's called PCOS. It's polycystic ovarian syndrome, and truthfully, there's a lot of women that have it that don't know they have it, or there's a lot of women that have it that aren't very vocal about it. But there hasn't really been a lot of research on it within like the past decade or so. Was probably when it really began, and it's fairly new to the world, if that makes sense. So really, like, what my purpose is for this video is to just kind of talk about like what those struggles are, and kind of how you can support women who may have it around you, or kind of like if you're a woman out there and you experience certain symptoms, and there's doctors out there that just kind of silence you. There's ways to go about that too. So I just want to start off by saying, like, I explain a lot of this in my book. I have a ebook out there, and I'll post a link for that in the description if you'd like to read it. It's a short little book. You could download it anywhere on your phone, laptop, tablet, wherever you want. But really what it's about, it's kind of like my journey, how hard it was to be diagnosed, because, I was having these symptoms. No doctors could figure out where it was coming from. Running all types of blood tests, all types of, ultrasounds, imaging, even, for it leading me to like, bleeding for a long time, and bleeding very heavily to the point where, I ended up in the emergency room. And even then they just couldn't pinpoint it. Like at that point, like they had known that I had PCOS, but they couldn't pinpoint like what the severity was, up until like later on. From there, I was able to find like, a good group of doctors, including like, my surgeon and everything like that. And really just want to start off by saying, like, it's hard. It's hard living with it, but at the same time, it's built my character to the sense where, I know how much stronger I am by going through this than I would have been without it. But it also, enables me to kind of just share that message out there that, because there's not a lot of women that have been diagnosed with it, I'm able to kind of shed that awareness by having it myself. So, and I'll start off by saying this, but, PCOS, it typically, from what research has shown, it typically comes in 4 different types. Just based off of my symptoms alone, we determined that I have all 4, which causes a certain type of problems because the different issues have to be treated differently, can be treated by different medications. Now, I know there's some companies out there that I call them companies, but they're basically businesses that create like natural supplements. There's a lot of pages on TikTok that teach you how to manage the symptoms with like things like different types of teas and herbs and all that type of stuff. So whichever method works for you is totally fine. But just know that there are different ways to treat it. There are different ways to go about it. And the best way to treat it is to figure out what type you have, and you can have more than one type. The way I found out was because I had an IUD, and, I had to get that checked regularly. And the more males know about this, the more they're able to help the females that have to go through this on their daily basis. So that's why I'm being so transparent about it. But again, this is just my experience. I know other women have gone through other things, but some doctors will say that certain things have to come up through your blood labs in order to figure that out. For me personally, all my labs were coming back normal. Before, it was like a total mystery as to why I was going through these things, other than like diet and other things. Problems with weight loss, you know, even when exercising, dieting, like I generally, especially now because I cook all the time, like I generally eat a good diet. And while I have lost weight, it's like most of the weight is like due to like inflammation, which by the way hurts. GYN telling me that, you know, it's just, you know, hormonal imbalances, you know, it'll be fine. Let's just put you on birth control. You know, ended up having to get diagnostic surgery just to find out that, I mean, thank God it wasn't something else, but, you know, at the same time, it's still a total mystery, because like still to this day, I'll have random pains that I can't control. Like I'm talking like pains that are on, if women out there that have gave birth naturally, no medications, no nothing, know the pain I'm talking about. Like it's that level of pain, worse than a heart attack, worse than anything you could ever imagine. It's a constant battle with yourself to have PCOS. It's absolutely nuts. It took going through, oh my gosh, years of doctors to figure this out. Like I remember I didn't get, when I first was talking about like, yeah, there's just chronic pain, my menstrual cycles are super irregular, I'm bleeding a lot, all that stuff. Like the first doctor I had been going to for years, she just, dismissed it. She's like, it just take Tylenol, you'll be fine. And I'm trying to tell her, I'm like, first of all, I can't be on painkillers for a long time. And then it's not even doing anything on top of that. Like, why am I making myself drowsy for no reason? So I ended up going to a different practice altogether, and they were like, so surprised that I had never been told, and I hadn't been told that I had PCOS yet, but it was, me being diagnosed like, yeah, you have ovarian cyst, because you could have the cyst without having PCOS, because there's not much they can do about it. Like if the ovarian cysts get like super huge, then you have to get them surgically removed. But if they're like, the problem with mine is that they were constantly rupturing. Now remember that pain I was talking about. So that pain, but like super sharp in one moment, and then on top of that, like literally like my entire like pelvis being inflamed because there was just free fluid going everywhere. You just kind of have to deep breathe and go through the motions. There's something more than this. Like, matter of fact, I hadn't even brought it up. I just like was so over going from doctor to doctor trying to figure out what to do, what treatment works. But then I ended up going to a different practice again. Not because there was anything wrong with the first one, but just because like, I don't know, I just like this practice better. And the distance was better as well, like driving to it. But yeah, so I had went to another practice, and she noticed like the facial hair and stuff like that. And she was like, she asked me like different questions of, kind of like my symptoms and everything like that. And I told her about like the menstrual cycles, about the facial hair. And then she had asked me about the blood work, and I told her, I was like, my blood work, other than like the inflammation markers and like my cholesterol levels, everything, comes back normal. It's like a 2 out of 3 game. If you have 2 out of the 3, you have it. There is no denying that. But no one had ever told me that up until her. I had an IUD. For anybody that doesn't know what that is, it's a device that gets implanted. And I was having like really severe pain, and I had been given antibiotics just in case I had an infection, but that had made it worse and not better. So didn't have an infection, but they did an ultrasound in there, and I ended up going to her because with the ultrasound they determined that the IUD had got embedded. So with that being said, got it taken out. But then we began trying to treat my PCOS. Now, with PCOS, there's different ways to go about it. So because I had all 4, it made it a bit tricky. Now, most, if not a lot of people know the medication metformin that's usually given to diabetics. or to people that are trying to lose weight. Either one. I remember going to this one doctor that kind of plucked the last straw. She had said, well, I'm not doing, because I was 19 when this happened. So she was like, I'm not doing surgery on a 19-year-old. And that's all she told me. So I said, fine. And I did one final try to get to another doctor. And when I tell you, this doctor is absolutely amazing. Not only was she helping me with my problems, but she also referred me to another doctor that could help me with the weight loss side of things, the weight loss side of PCOS, and you know, connected me with the nutritionist and all this other stuff. And it's not one of those like typical nutritionists that just says you need to do this, this, and that, and you'll be fine. Like, no, this nutritionist, she literally took a whole hour with me to just go over like what I eat on a daily basis. And, you know, come to find out that it wasn't anything that I was eating. It was the fact that because I don't necessarily get hungry, I just eat when like my stomach growls. She was like, you need to be, if you can't eat like a full meal, then you need to eat like basically 6 snack size stuff a day. You know, working with this team to go through everything. And I did end up getting the diagnostic surgery. Nothing new came out of it. It was stuff that I already knew, but gosh, was it painful. And matter of fact, I'm coming up on a year actually of having this surgery. It took 3 years to just be diagnosed, and then another 6 months to get to the surgery, to figure out what's going on, to figure out a game plan. So just for this like last bit of this video, it's like, you know, definitely making sure you're getting enough rest. Now, I don't necessarily mean like actually like closing your eyes and going to sleep, but like you as a person know when you're overexerting yourself. And I'm a person that like constantly has to be doing something. I'm like, I have to keep busy. I have to keep my mind busy. I have to, you know, do something constantly, or else I feel like I'm doing nothing. So, you know, I know now when to not exert myself. And if I just have to sit down and take a minute, then I'll do that. And typically, like, instead of like binge watching something, I'll like read or, you know, listen to a podcast or something of that nature to just keep my mind rolling, but keep my body resting. What's recommended is to do like slow, weighted trainings. So like, if you like calisthenics, do calisthenics. If you like yoga, do yoga. If you like walking instead of running, do that. To make it very simple, like I just follow YouTube videos because in all honesty, it's free education. Now I will say this, not all trainers post videos the same. So there's some people that they're trainers, but they work out in the wrong form. So if you're somebody that doesn't know anything about like, you know, working out like religiously and just a certain form of how you do things, even in calisthenics, like I would do that research first or ask somebody that knows, because you don't want to hurt yourself. When it comes to things like diet, so you want to increase your protein intake and watch your carbs. Even like fruits, you have to be careful because some of them have a lot of natural sugar that you really can't measure like that unless you're, you know, using like one of those apps to track it or something like that, which is actually a good thing to do. Like you don't necessarily have to measure your food per se, but like if you're looking, like I'm pretty sure everybody has probably seen the My Plate by now, but like if you see how the My Plate is laid out, like I would say for me personally, because it works for me personally, I eat about like half the plate of like a healthy protein. So personally, my stomach doesn't digest beef well unless it's like ground beef that I make. So I don't eat like a lot of steak or a lot of burgers or anything like that, but I'll eat like ground turkey or lots of chicken, ground beef occasionally. So for normal people or lactose intolerant, like drinking things like like the skim milk or the low fat milks, they actually have a higher sugar content than protein, which will cause your sugar to go up, number one, but then it'll harbor more fat than anything. But like personally, I like oat milk. If I'm drinking like cow's milk, then I'll drink like whole milk. I won't drink, the most reduced fat I'll do is like the 1 or 2%, but I won't drink skim milk anymore. So for water, if you infuse it like with lemon juice and like with cinnamon and things like that, it'll help keep that inflammation down, help you lose weight. Definitely like first thing in the morning, you want to drink like, you know, a cup of water with lemon juice in it, or even like a cap full of like apple cider vinegar and like an 8-ounce cup. Like that helps a lot, like on an empty stomach. Again, like in the ebook I have it, I literally break it down as far as like meal ideas, even dessert ideas, because let's be serious, we all like our desserts, but there's other ways to go about it. So like recipes, resources, different like specific workouts of what I do in the past, what I do now. And it's even with women that might not have PCOS but have like hormone imbalances or some type of that, like those issues, like I would highly recommend this book, just because it not only helps you mentally, but it'll help you physically, inside and out. So, you know, with that I end. I'll put that link down in the description. If you have any questions, post them in the comments. Don't forget to like this video and don't forget to subscribe. I will be back next week with another video, so stay tuned for that. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next episode.